Lawson and Hunter Shamblin discuss the young Republicans of Bradley County, I guess the committee or party or whatever you want to call it. And so I thought, hey, it'd be a good time to have y'all on here and see what it's all about.
Well, we appreciate you having us on. I know I looked at your website, and man, you have all kinds of views for the short amount of time that you've had this up and running. You know, I put something out on Twitter and Facebook, and I said, this is the #1 podcast in Bradley County. I love it. There's all kinds of views.
Well, we try to have interesting, informative, and fascinating people. So we'll see which one you are.
Probably neither.
Yeah.
Especially this guy right here.
Yeah,
so.
well.
Now, Lawson, you're Steve's son, right?
I am. My dad is Sheriff Lawson.
I've known him my whole entire life.
Have you?
My whole life.
Wow.
My whole life.
That's great.
He's a good guy.
I appreciate that, and I appreciate it.
He wants to be sheriff.
He really does. He really loves his job. That's something that he's always loved, is police work. That's just his home, it seems like. So.
When I used to go to Munford's Home Improvement Center, and we would just go to the back and drink coffee, and he would come in, and this was, I guess I was 15, 14.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I remember when he ran against Dan Gilley, and he was even nice to the people that didn't vote for him.
Well, that's something that my dad has always tried to teach me. You know, no matter what people believe or what they do, I mean, you got to be nice to them. I mean, you always do the right thing because, I mean, that could be you that, you know, you're talking to somebody, you may not be for them, but you still want to treat people the way that you want to be treated.
You sound just like him.
I get that a lot.
He looks like him too, doesn't he? So.
He don't look as much like him as he sounds like him and talks like him to me.
Well, you should have seen him before he grew the full beard and he just had the mustache. He looked a lot like him.
Oh yeah,
then, so.
that's it.
Does he know you're here today?
He does. I left him at the house just a few ago. I went over and saw him. So.
Now, Hunter Shamblin, is that what relation to people in Cleveland?
My dad's Joe Shamblin and my mom is Erica Shamblin, and Dad has been a teacher and a coach at Walker Valley High School for many years, and my mom is the principal out at Taylor Elementary School.
Now, this Joe Shamblin, I know him. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think
he's about my height.
Yeah, he's a pretty tall guy. So.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
I think he may have coached your son Dee for a season or two as well
baseball,
too. So
yeah.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Well, so what is it that you do? What? Tell me your role in this Young Republicans.
Well, I'm the chairman of the Young Republicans, and I spearhead trying to get Republican candidates elected here in Bradley County. We work alongside Richard Burnett and the rest of the Republican Party. You know, we're two separate groups, the Young Republicans and the GOP, but we've got a great relationship, and we're so blessed to have that because there's countless organizations of the Young Republicans and then the GOPs across the state that don't work good together. They don't even get along half the time, but we work great together, and, you know, we just hosted a big election night watch party, and I think that was a success. We partnered along with the GOP for that, and you know, our main focus is to keep Bradley County red and keep it as red as we possibly can, and that's our #1 goal.
Who deems you the chairman?
Okay, well, what we had done is our past chairman. We've had a couple past chairmen, and the club kind of fizzled out, you know, and there was not much left to it. And then me and Chase talked on the phone one night, and we said we need to get the Young Republicans back up and running. It's too important to have younger people involved with this, and it's too important to not have one, you know. And so we decided to call the state party chairman. We called him up, told him we wanted to recharter the Bradley County Young Republicans. And
no, go back. You called who?
The chairman of the Young Republicans. The state.
So there is
the state Young Republicans.
There is
chairman.
an actual body for that.
Yes, sir.
I mean,
yes.
you like 5 people can't get together and start their own.
No, we
No,
had to
no, sir.
recharter and jump through the hoops that they have in place. We had to get
What was involved with that?
We had to get a certain amount of, I don't know off the top of my head, but a certain amount of members in our club to start off, and we had to have their signatures, and we had to have them sign, most of the time when you get a new chairman, you have a vote on it, but because we had rechartered, what the vote technically was the signatures after we listed the positions we were going to put in for, and then the signatures certified that with the state, and the state certified it too.
Now the state Republican Party,
Young Republican state.
So it's not who's in charge of the Young Republicans?
Ethan White is the state Young Republican.
Is he
chairman.
a Young Republican?
He is.
Or
He is.
an old-
Yes, sir.
What if that fizzles out?
Then that's. I hope that never happens. I don't think it ever has, but that's a scary.
So I guess they have dues to pay up
Yes,
the line.
we pay dues. Yeah, we pay dues to the state, and that goes to help funding the state with with what they do, and they have a lot of expenses they have to take on. Right now they're fighting in Georgia right now for the Senate seats, and so there's a lot of things that the state does at the state level. And
Now, is this the Young Republicans is separate than the Republicans?
it
Yes,
is,
sir.
it is, but it's better when they work hand in hand together, which we do here in Bradley
Now,
County.
who deems the Young Republicans of the state an actual group? Yeah, I guess I get confused. On the
Yeah, no,
hierarchy.
it's confusing. So
Yeah.
it basically it works just like the state party, the state Republican Party, but it's the state Young Republican organization. The state Young Republican Club. You can call it, either one. And you have your state chairman and then your state board of directors, which I'm on the state board of directors because I'm the chairman of the Bradley County Young Republicans, and we vote on our bylaws and we vote on our agenda and what we want to do, throughout the year. But we are a state board, but we kind of have branches off of that, which is like our county organizations, and then we form our own Bradley County Board of Directors and our own, our own organizations spring off. So it's a lot to take in. And
So you're actually a deemed party
yes, sir.
from the Republican Party, or what we refer to as RNC.
Yeah.
So you're the real deal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Can you get too old?
You time out at 40 years old is whenever
40 years
you're
old.
considered to not be a young Republican anymore. So you could join up with us then. You're still
Yeah,
under
that's
that age,
right.
right?
Yeah, we'll get you an application.
If y'all quit call me sir and call me D.
Yes, sir.
Just call me D. I'm just
Okay.
D.
Okay.
He's a good guy. He's a
Yeah.
I'm a regular D, the regular Joe or whatever.
Okay.
So, all right. So you're how many members are in the Young Republican?
right now. Oh,
I think it's about 13 probably.
we probably have more than that now.
Is it more?
I'd say we're probably sitting around 15 to 20
Does
now.
it
Is
cost
that what
to
we're at
join?
now?
Yeah, it's the state is $3 to join, in which we don't charge anything on top of that.
So you send that to the state.
Yeah, we
and,
send it.
and then so you'd say, okay, I'm 30. I want to join the Young Republicans. You'd say, okay.
Yeah.
And they'd give you your $3, and you'd mail it to the state,
What-
and the state would give it to the RNC, and the RNC would fight for the Georgia Senate.
Something
like that?
Something like that.
Something
yeah.
like that.
And I don't have to send them a $3 check every time. It's just we may get a influx of 10 new members, say, and then I'd mail them a check then.
So you have a checking account.
Yes,
Yes,
we
sir.
do. Yes, sir. Yeah.
So, you have you don't have an office.
No, we
No,
don't have an
no.
office.
No.
So
So, getting out of politics just a little bit is where was your? You sound like you're really into history or what do they call that? Social studies or civics.
yeah.
Civics,
all right.
civics.
Yeah.
So are y'all civic majors?
No, I'm actually a business administration major. About to wrap up. Thank goodness.
Where at?
Lee University.
Yeah.
Yes,
So
sir.
4 years in Lee College.
Well, I did 2 years at the University of Cumberland's in Kentucky. I played 2 years of baseball there, and then got a little homesick. It's hard to leave Cleveland,
Yeah.
Tennessee. I realized how great of a place this was, and then I moved off, and I appreciated it 1,000 times more, and I didn't know that was possible.
But just 2 years, so
2
that's
years
not
there.
even really moving
No,
off.
no. 2 years there, and then I'm about to finish up at Lee, hopefully here pretty soon.
Yeah.
So.
And then what?
Then I'd like to get into business, so I'd like to start, developing rental properties and kind of some of the same stuff that you do. And I thought about going into the insurance industry before as well. So, and I've got a couple opportunities. I hadn't figured out what exactly I want to do after this.
But business related.
Yes, sir.
Not medical. Not...
No. No.
How about you, Chase?
So I am a political science major at Lee. I'm a sophomore, and I'm kind of along with Hunter. I don't really know exactly what I want to do yet. I spent all 4 years or all of my time in college at Lee, but I'm just taking it one step at a time, and whatever comes up, I'll take advantage of.
No police.
I don't know yet. I couldn't tell you definitively yes or no. I know it's been a long profession of everyone in my family. My brother's been a police officer, my dad, my uncle, my papa, everybody has went in that line of work. And, I'm not going to say it's not a possibility because it is, but, I'm not going to nail myself down to that yet.
Now, your uncle was who?
My uncle was Robert Lawson.
Robert Lawson.
So he was sheriff here in Bradley County in the 70s, I believe.
I remember.
Mm-hmm.
Now, did he work with Sam Cannon, or was Sam Cannon before him?
I don't really know, to be honest with you.
I think maybe they were about the same time.
Yeah, it would seem like it.
And Robert went on to be safety commissioner.
Yes,
too, right?
he did. Yes, he did.
Yep. So, have you heard the theory that the human brain's not really developed till you're 25?
I have.
I've
heard that.
Does that scare you?
I-
That whatever decisions you're making now might be. I can look back till I was 25 and I think, what was I thinking?
Yeah.
I mean, it's really ironic that if you could look in the future, you would start headed that direction, but you don't know. And I think sometimes college forces you to decide at 19 what you're going to do the rest of your life. You say, well, you may want to be in business, and he may want to be in political science.
Yeah, exactly.
And
but now you've specified in that, and now he knows about political science, and it's So it's really it makes you wonder if it's kind of even worth it to go to college till you're 25.
And I think for some people it may not be the right thing to go to college. Some people flourish in the trade industry or other forms of employment. But I think that I personally have went through life, and I've looked at many different things, whether that have been in high school or different clubs that I participated in, and I was able to kind of push out things that I wasn't going to be interested in doing my whole life. And now I'm in political science, and I feel there are many different routes that I can take from political science. I can go to business, or I can go into politics, or I can go into government service. And there's many different things, so I don't feel like I've nailed myself down yet, but I feel like I've given myself a good outlook for many different avenues.
Left yourself creating options.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And do you think that say 10 years from now, you'll look back and say, why didn't I focus on my career instead of dealing with the young Republicans?
I don't think I will, and we can't say definitely, what we'll be thinking in 10 years, but, already we hosted, and we've not had this club chartered, but for maybe 3 months now, 4 months, so, and we hosted a massive election night party. I think we probably had a couple hundred out.
Is that right?
Yes, sir. I was working the whole night, so I didn't get a chance to count. But the room was packed, and people were enjoying the night, and people were there celebrating. We had great candidates there like Mark Hall and Representative Mark Hall, and then State Senator Todd Gardenhire. And man, just to see the night whenever it got called for them to go back to Nashville and to be able to share that night with them, and for people to be able to have a place to go where they could share that night with them, as well too. I don't think I'll regret it, and I think it's well worth the time we're putting in it.
How did you? Where was this at? I know it was at the woolen mill.
Yes, sir. In the weaver's room there.
Oh. Do you have to rent that?
You do.
Yes,
Yes,
we
sir.
What's that cost?
$1,200.
Yeah.
So
Where'd you get the $1,200?
we split 600 with the GOP, and we went in 600 with it as well too, and we fundraised.
So the GOP, the national GOP,
the Bradley County GOP.
Oh.
Yes,
County
sir.
GOP.
which is who?
Richard Burnett's the chairman.
Oh.
So
Yes,
I
sir.
tell him he's the best chairman in the state. So I love Richard Burnett. He's great. And
Yeah.
He helps us in any way he can too.
I saw him at the Trump rally in Chattanooga. He was he was guarding the. He wouldn't let. He said, "You can't go. You can't go this." I was trying to go down. He said, "You can't go down." I said, "Okay," and I went across to the next door and went down.
I love
So
it.
you can't follow all the rules.
That's exactly
Yeah,
right.
that's right.
So they footed half the
Yes,
deal.
they did. I
Yes,
called
sir.
him. I called Richard up, and that just goes back to how blessed we are to have such a great relationship with him. And I asked him. I said, "Do y'all want to be a part of this with us? And you want to split it and go in half to half and host a big election night?" And he was just right there on the phone. Of course, we'd love to do it, and and so we wanted to we raised quite a bit of money off of this event, but it wasn't the goal. We wanted to really just have a big event to let people know that we had rechartered and that we were back in action. We wanted the community to know. We wanted to get young involvement out, and and it's people, when they think young Republicans, they think 18, 19 years old, but it's a lot of your people that go to these functions, are in their 30s and low,
40 is not really young.
No, yeah, I know. It's kind of confusing. Dr. Manny that ran against Bill Haggerty, I just learned this the other day from our state chairman, was actually 1 year out of being a young Republican. So he had just timed out of being a young Republican. And I thought that was kind of wild.
Now, why wouldn't the young Republicans and the Republican Party of Bradley County just have their thing at one spot?
I don't know. That's a good question. And I think maybe that goes back to there's certain things we can do and there's certain things that they can do, and it's best if we do have two organizations but work together when we can and work separately when we need to. A lot of what we've done already with the Young Republicans is we've done a lot of ground game work for Senator Todd Gardenhire. He was in a tough election with Glenn Scruggs, and we rounded up some people. We went and door knocked in Chattanooga. I took him around my subdivision. We door knocked around. We drove him around on the golf cart. But there's a lot of things that younger Republicans can do. We can hit a lot of doors for these good Republican candidates. Too.
It sounds like you could be a very big pull for if somebody was running for office and they had the young Republicans behind them. You would have that group of 40 under kind of theoretically for you.
Yeah.
Now, as far as why, we had this election. I guess y'all left thinking Trump had won. And then,
I thought so.
Yeah.
So that will evolve, I'm sure. But why Republican?
For me?
Yeah, have you ever thought about that?
Yeah.
I know a lot of Democrats. I've had one or two here, good friends of mine, smart people. I'm not even sure if we differ that much on the way we think. It's just that we've, I guess, basically just, and as a Republican myself, I probably don't even agree with everything y'all say.
Yeah.
So is it just the label we've put on ourselves?
That's a good point.
It is.
The big thing for me is why I've been a Republican. I've grown up Republican, been a Republican all my life. And, whenever I got old enough to understand what Republican meant, it has more to do than just party for me. Honestly, the values of the Republican Party are the right values for me because of my faith in Jesus Christ, and I feel like Christians, as a Christian, I align more with the Republican Party values than I do with the Democrat Party values in a major way, and that's the main reason why I am a Republican, and I believe in lower taxes and in economic growth, and I think the Republican Party facilitates that the best.
Does the Republican Party have a motto, or if you could say, okay, what's the Democrat Party for and what's the Republican Party? Is there a place you can go say, this is what they're for and this is what they're for, or is it just kind of a...
Well, I think everybody wants to be the party of the working man.
They all say that.
Yeah, you all say
you
that.
could say the popular one now, I think, is jobs and not mobs for the
Yeah,
Republican
yeah.
Party.
Yeah, that's a popular thing to
Yeah.
say.
Yeah.
But I mean, as you know, I grew up in a family that wasn't always a Republican. My dad, he was a former Democrat. But the Democrat Party has evolved over the years, and I'm sure you've seen that across your life.
I've seen it, yep.
The Democrat Party is not the Democrat Party that was 50 years ago.
Do we think it wasn't... but go ahead.
The Democrat Party has become so progressive. They don't align with the values of the people in Bradley County anymore, I don't believe. They don't align with my values. I know they don't align with Hunter's values. They've become too extreme, and they've alienated so many different people from their party.
I think that if a party would have a list of what they... You could go and see their list, then you could decide which one you want to be a part of.
Yeah.
But neither one, or maybe neither one, is afraid to list them
Yeah.
so that they can blur the lines between what we think.
Trying to pull those swing voters.
Yeah.
I mean, the Democrats believe in God, and so the Republicans. The Democrats are for the working man, and so is the Republicans. So have we, I always, like these football teams everybody roots for, and they're rooting for this team, and the people on the team are not even from there.
Yeah.
So what are you rooting for? You're really just rooting for a color.
Yeah.
Well,
I think, like the Bible says, you'll know them by their fruit, and you know the different parties by their fruit. When we've got a Republican administration, like President Trump, for example, 4 years of just great economic growth, and I think you've captured the phrase that you work so hard in this Trump economy, you don't have time to do anything.
I don't have time to vote.
Yeah, that's exactly right, and and I love that. I saw it on your Twitter, but it's just. We've got great economic prosperity under Republican administrations. When you got a Republican House, Republican Senate, Republican president, you can really move the needle for people whenever it comes to economic growth. Even as we've seen the past 4 years, just a Republican Senate for 2 years. We had the House and the Senate for the first two, but and a Republican president. President Trump has gotten so much done for the working class. We saw stocks rise, people's 401ks shoot through the roof.
Interest rates are low.
I know, and gas prices are low too. Who would have thought we'd ever seen the gas prices that we've seen again in our lifetimes this low? And that's just, you can tell what a party really stands for by how they govern. And I think that, for me, I would jump on ship with the GOP any day of the week because of how they govern differently than the left does. And I think too, a big thing for me right now is you can see in these Republican states or Democrat states how they treat their law enforcement, and that's a huge thing for me. And I know it is Chase, but you've got some states where it's like you're alienating.
We know where you stand.
Yeah. It's no question where I stand.
Some of these Democrat governors, it's like they're criminalizing the men and women that protect us every single day, that strap on their gun and their badge, and they wake up every morning to service, and they treat them like criminals, and I hate that. I could never associate with a party, and I know it's not all of them, but you look at Republican-led states like in Tennessee, and where I feel like there's a strong respect and just for police officers, and that we really appreciate them. Whereas in some states, I don't feel like they do. At least the leadership doesn't. And I just think that's an insane thing that anyone might not appreciate the men and women in law enforcement. So
I'm doing a job in Athens, and so I've been driving there every day and back. And as I go through Calhoun, I have to slow down to 20 miles an hour because there's the Calhoun police are sitting behind a bush trying to catch me. And And the reason I'm so nervous is because I've gotten 3 tickets through there,
through Calhoun.
2 of which I was not speeding.
Yeah.
So now that's a small thing.
Yeah.
But if I was to be stopped by the police and had some really bad experiences, then that would make me.
Yeah.
I can almost see what these people that maybe have lived through that can get jaded to the police. Although, but I don't think it's the police.
Yeah.
It's just 1 or 2 bad eggs.
Yeah, that's the thing, you know, and the left so long is just, you know, wanting to categorize all of them into that pot of being all bad apples, you know, and obviously, you know, there's situations where I'm sure there's bad cops and different police, you know, sheriff's offices and police departments, you know, but it's not all of them, and the vast majority of them go into that profession to serve, and that's what we have to remember, you know, they are public servants every day of their life.
Yeah, and if you go down and you talk to a police officer, especially in this county, you talk to a police officer, they want to serve. That's the whole reason they're in the job.
They're not there for the money, are they?
No. I mean, they deserve so much more pay, but that's the different story on that topic.
Yeah.
But they're there because they want to do the job and they want to serve the people. And you know, I don't think any of them will, you know, set out to alienate people. Alienate a person just because, you know, they don't like the way that you look, they don't like what you're doing, you know. I don't think anybody that is at the sheriff's department or at the Cleveland City Police Department would set out to do something like that. And if there is somebody that sets out to do something like that, that's where the leadership at the 2 departments, you know, can, you know, go through and weed out those bad apples. And I think they do a good job of doing that right now.
Yeah, we don't have that problem here. Not. In fact, you don't really see police watching traffic like they used to and giving tickets. I don't know if that's.
Yeah, I mean, it's not about just handing somebody a ticket and saying, you go pay this $150 because
It has nothing. Yeah, it has nothing to do with that. It's the points on your driver's thing and taking your license and the insurance. But I don't see that as much as I used to. 10 years ago, we'd see policemen everywhere, behind the bushes and under the bridges, but you don't see that anymore.
It's about promoting a safe community. You know, all that I see police officers are there to do is promote a safe community and promote law and order. And I think they set out to do that. They don't set out to give you a $150 ticket and have you go pay it just because.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it's for safety. You know, I watch Andy Griffith, and he says he's not. He was telling Opie that he didn't make the rules. He was just supposed to enforce them.
That's right.
Yep, that's it.
Whether he liked them or not.
Yeah.
He'd always try to get around them if he didn't have to do it.
Well, there's probably a little bit more action that goes on in Bradley County
I'm sure,
than there does in Mayberry.
Yeah. Yeah, and of course we don't have Barney. They have Barney.
That's exactly.
Yeah.
We can call him Barney then.
Yeah. I liked old Barney.
I
Barney
did
was a good
too.
one.
No, if you want a Barney, I guess we could say maybe Brian Smith, Bullet, the legend Brian Smith.
I give Brian a tough time every now and then, but Brian's a good one. I like Brian.
I don't know him. I don't think.
He's the chief deputy.
He's the chief deputy at the
Trustee
county.
Mike Smith's brother, so he's a great guy. So
Yeah.
I love Brian Smith.
Yeah.
Now, what's your role in this Young Republicans?
So I am the vice chairman. Like Hunter said, he called me, I guess it was probably, August?
Probably.
And he said, hey, I got an idea. Let's reform this Young Republican Party that, you know, we grew up with in the 2018 election cycle that had kind of fallen apart. And then through talking with chairman of the GOP, Richard Burnett, and Ethan White, you know, we found out that they had let their charter expire and that the club was no longer a valid club through the state. So he called me and he said, hey, will you help me do this? And, you know, of course, Hunter's one of my best friends. And anything that Hunter wants me to help with, as long as, you know, it's not awful.
Or too awful.
Yeah, I'm there for it, and this is a cause that I can get behind because we're promoting the next generation, and I'm all about, I got little cousins and I got, people that I want to see succeed in the world, and I feel like I'm making the world a better place to live by promoting Republican candidates.
And I think too, the more you have to do, the more you can do. In other words, the old saying, if you want something done, what's that?
Do it yourself.
Do it yourself.
No, there's another saying, if you want something done, get the busy man to do it.
Oh, okay, yeah.
There's something about the busier you are, the more you can get,
Of course,
Yeah.
get stuff
Oh, yeah.
done.
Yeah.
So maybe by doing this, it gives you, I'm sure you've got schoolwork, right?
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I'm loaded down.
When do you have to do it? I mean,
I do schoolwork every night of the week. I have about 3 or 4 hours that I just have to set aside that I put my head down and get it done, and then I can do things.
do you religiously do that every night, or?
If I have to do it, I will set out 3 or 4 hours. I try to at least set that out and make that my time frame. Now, if I get my schoolwork done before then, obviously I'm not gonna spend the other hours on it. But it takes that kind of planning and time management to be able to succeed, I do believe.
Because schoolwork college is not. I didn't go to college, but I assume it's a lot harder than
It's
than
so much
Bradley
harder.
High School.
It's so much harder than
it
high
is.
school was, and every day you gotta go work hard because them professors. I mean, they care about you at Lee, but I mean you got to put the work in. They're not just going to give you a degree.
They probably just. Is it like when I went to school? They'd give you the lesson, teach it, and maybe give you some homework. But my understanding, the new way is to kind of tell you where you're supposed to go online to download it, to do it, to upload it, to send it in.
There's a lot of that. There is a lot of that, and
So where is the teaching?
well, different classes are different ways. I have accounting where we do stuff that's online, and then I have political science teachers that don't even allow electronics in their class. We do straight whiteboard and notebook paper, and we go through lectures for maybe 9 weeks, and then we take a midterm exam on it. Then we go another 9 weeks, and we take notes, and then we have a comprehensive exam that's a final.
Sounds to me like that's a good way to do it.
It is, and I like those teachers. Those are my political science teachers mostly, where I get into higher level classes in the discipline, and I love my political science professors. Dr. Mark Scully, Dr. Tom Pope, Dr. Anna Alves. They do a great job at Lee.
Well, Lee is boy. We really got something good with Lee College being here, don't we? You'd have to go where, Tennessee Wesleyan, I guess, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Why did you decide to go to Lee versus?
Where I was at?
Yeah.
Well, the main thing for me was I wanted to be back here at home in Bradley County in Cleveland, Tennessee. I'd moved away, played 2 years of college ball there, and that was always my dream growing up. I'd played baseball since I could walk, and I wanted to go play in college. And I got my fill of it for 2 years, and then I decided
Did you get burned out?
I did and I didn't. I still miss baseball, but the thing that it came down to me was what are my priorities? Is it so much that I want to keep playing baseball, or am I ready to move home and start my career, my life, and my future? Is kind of my thing, and that was the main decision for me. And I've got family here, grandparents, and I even my dog. People tease me, but I said you never realize how nice it is just to be able to come to your house and pet your dog when you get home.
Yeah.
So that
Getting off to college, it could die while you're gone.
yeah, I know, and so I just missed being here. Is why I moved back.
Now, when I noticed a lot of people in college go to these coffee shops and
I don't
study.
do that.
How do they do that?
That I don't know. That's not for me. You'll see some of them go in with their real tight jeans on and their jeans rolled up and their toboggans in 80-degree weather.
And they'll order some kind of a drink that's so complicated.
Yeah, and it'll be a $10 drink or something like that. And I'm
and the person behind the counter spending 8 minutes
I know.
putting it together.
What's wrong with
And
just
they'll leave, and they didn't even drink it.
What's wrong with just a black cup of coffee to just keep you?
I think they just want people to see them walk up there and get it, and go back and sit down like they're starting the new Facebook that only they can do.
That's right.
And they're real smart.
That's right.
Because why else would you do? If you're gonna, I mean, why not go to the library,
Yeah,
to
exactly.
the back room where nobody's at,
Exactly.
and study?
Yeah.
Why do
exactly.
it there?
I don't know. I've never done it. Never
I would
will.
say if you took some kind of a research, you'd find that the ones that studied at the coffee shop versus the ones that studied at the library, wonder who got better grades.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
You know, I think they like the atmosphere or whatever, but I mean I don't get it. You know, I don't care what the atmosphere is as long as I can go in and get what I need to get done.
I'd rather get
you know?
it done
That's
and get
my
gone.
thing. Yeah,
Why sit there?
that's my thing. I guess they got too much time on their hands.
I don't know what it is, but there's something, they do it.
They do.
Yeah.
You're exactly
Like
right.
Bond Life and that the coffee shop.
What
and-
gets me is the drink is like $8 to $10 a drink. Like who wants to buy that? You know,
yeah, and
that's-
who wants whipped cream in their coffee?
doesn't sound
Not me.
very
I mean,
fiscally
I don't even know
conservative,
what
does
they-
it?
no, Do you think you can tell what people are if they're Democrat or Republican by what they order at the coffee shop?
You probably can. You know, if I see somebody walk in maybe earlier in the day and get a black coffee and get in and get out, and maybe they're a conservative, and then you list off the I can't even know the macchiato, whatever.
I don't
you know,
even mocha
that-
something.
it just-
Everything's mocha.
It just sounds a little. It just sounds a little bit on the liberal leaning side to me. So.
What about when they say, "Do you want me to leave room for cream and sugar?" How much could that take? How much room could that take?
Gee.
That much room?
I know.
I mean, how much room could it
I don't
take?
know.
If I want it, I'll drink a little bit and then add it.
Yeah, then add it. But
You know, when I was at Munford's,
mhm.
speaking of Munford's, we were in the back room drinking coffee, and maybe your dad was there, I don't know, but he'd come in there some. But I was 14, 15 maybe. And Gene Officer, my good friend, was getting some coffee. And I thought, well, I'll be big and get me some coffee too. So I started to put cream and sugar in it. He said, what are you doing? I said, I'm putting cream and sugar in it. And he said, hey, coffee tastes bad no matter how you drink it. You acquire a taste for it. Acquire a taste for it black, and you won't spend the rest of your life looking for cream and sugar.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so
Did it
to
work?
this day, I don't do
Yeah.
anything in it, but look how much time he saved me.
That's exactly right.
Now, that's a good point, the booming economy. What are you seeing?
Well, right now it's kind of hard to tell because, to my knowledge, the economy right now, if we want to talk about the stock market, you know, in itself, is actually doing okay even with all this election uncertainty. You know, and what I've gathered,
Now, election uncertainty. It is uncertain at this point.
it is.
By the time this podcast comes out, it may not be, but right now,
Yeah.
it's not official,
Yeah,
correct?
and you know, and what people got to understand too, the news networks don't decide who the president is. You know, and they've called it. You know, if these votes hold up, then that so be it. You know, but these news networks have called the race, and I think that's not good because it's provided some uncertainty with the American people. Whenever the actual election isn't certified until December, when the Electoral College meets, and then it's certified.
Boy, let's go into that. Because that's what everybody doesn't know or doesn't understand or doesn't even know that. So we can have elections and we can vote. Let's say that Trump, that candidate A won the most votes. He's not won yet till there's a process,
Yes,
right?
the state certifies, and then the
So
Electoral
the
College.
state has to, somebody says,
Secretary of State.
Secretary of State is job. One of their jobs is to say, these votes are correct, or do they say this state votes for?
Well, to my understanding, before the Secretary of State doesn't have anything to do with the litigation process on these. They'll certify the elections, you know, when the courts give them the A-OK. Like, let's say in Pennsylvania, that's not certified yet with all this litigation going
Is
on.
Tennessee certified?
I'm not sure. I
don't believe so.
do you know
And
the
why
deadline?
why wouldn't it be? I just think there's a process. I don't know what it is.
All the votes have to be counted too,
Yeah.
before.
I think the process is probably put in place to make sure that everything is right, and we don't make mistakes that maybe other states may make, or people may make in just a first time count. And I think we pushed that off to the 1st of December, right before the Electoral College meets.
Okay.
And the state will sign off on that. And
So the state has to sign saying, here's the votes.
yeah.
Or do they say, Tennessee went this way? Or do they say, we had this many votes for this candidate and this for this candidate? I, Secretary of State, certified, and take it to the
Yeah.
federal government?
Yeah, I believe if you pay attention to your ballot, you're voting for the electors of. So I think that you're voting for those electors that will be sent to the Electoral College to then cast their vote.
It would be like Tennessee awards their allotted number of electoral votes to Donald J. Trump, is how it would be set up.
That's why you have the Electoral College.
Yes.
So when we vote, if I've got this right in my head, we are voting for our electoral representative to vote for us that way.
Yes.
Now, do they have to vote that way?
They actually do not, to my understanding.
Yeah, I think there is exceptions to where they don't have to, but it's very few and far between that they do not.
It's
I mean,
proud-
that'd be a...
Yeah.
Well, they tried to do it in 2016 with President Trump, where there was a big push of trying to get the electors to vote for Hillary Clinton. Even
And
in their
I
state.
guess that's their choice. Now, do we elect, what do you call them?
The electors.
Yeah,
I'm
do
not
we
sure.
elect the electors?
I think-
Actually, you do. I think.
That's a political
Yeah.
science question.
I think
Maybe
the
on
way
one
they
of your
would do it
tests.
is that the Tennessee GOP will select the electors. So they're going to do that with the with the RNC in mind and with the Republican nominee in mind, to make sure that when they do go vote for the electoral college, that they're not going to be people that are going to switch up on you.
So the electoral. Now, John Stansberry, what is it he does? Isn't that
He's
something to do with that?
he's a state executive committeeman. So he you'd have to ask John the ins and outs of his job, but I think
Reckon he'd know.
I think he'd know. I think the world of John Stansberry.
He'd tell you.
He came to our election night party, and I had the chance to talk to him, and he, I think a lot of what he does is shaping the party agenda for because he's a state executive party member, so. But John Stansberry does a great job. Good guy.
Isn't it funny that people don't know exactly the whole process?
The whole process, I know.
So there's more to it, obviously, than
Yes.
just voting.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder if the vote even counts.
I
I guess
know.
it does, but
Yeah.
I mean, does it really matter? I guess it does, but what you're saying is you feel it's that we vote for our electors to go hold up that sign.
Basically.
Yes.
Basically.
Now that's not at this election. That's to nominate.
You got your primary and your
Yeah.
general. Yeah.
But that's not. Would that be for the general?
Yeah,
would,
that's
yes.
you're just electing the electors, I do believe, for the general, and then in the primaries you're
So our electors, which is our electors, Tennessee has what?
9, I do believe.
We all vote as Tennessee that our electors vote this way. 9.
Yes, sir.
And that's why the popular vote doesn't count. It's getting the
Yeah.
electoral.
The popular vote, which a lot of people want to push for that, but states like even Pennsylvania, states like Pennsylvania and the small Nevada and Arizona, they'd be alienated if you'd only campaign in New York, maybe Florida, but basically
You wouldn't go to
California.
Etowah, Tennessee. would
No,
you?
and you'd never campaign in swing states. North Carolina would never be thought of again, and it'd just be you'd focus on California, New York, Florida.
I know this is a crazy question, but I guess this is all. Did this all evolve, or was this written in the Constitution?
That's a good question.
Because if it was, you set out and lay out all these scenarios that evidently they did a good job.
Yeah.
Because who would have thought of that?
Yeah.
I wouldn't have thought of
No,
that.
me neither.
Yep, I believe this is laid out in the Constitution.
Well, that would be, if we all sit here and had to figure that out, we'd never get it done.
Good thing
Yeah.
we weren't founding fathers
Yeah.
then, I believe.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
So now maybe it was based on some other country that had it, and maybe it was partly done or something. I don't know, but that's what it's like.
Mhm.
So so the certification is who's responsible for certifying it for the states. Whose department does that fall under? Whose heading does that fall under?
That's going to be your Secretary of State,
And who is Tennessee's Secretary of State?
Trey
Trey
Hargett.
Hargett,
And who voted? Who made him Secretary of State?
Governor Bill Lee.
So the governor appoints the Secretary of State.
In some states.
In most states, like Tennessee, it will be appointed by Governor Lee.
Kentucky, they're voted for, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Vote for, yeah.
Yeah, Kentucky votes for their Attorney General, their Secretary of State, all those different offices.
Tennessee's kind of a weird state because we only have 3 full state, elections, and that's your 2 senators and your governor. So that's kind of strange, but
Every state's a little different.
every state is.
Yes, sir.
You know, if I could suggest something to the United States, which they won't listen to me, but I would
should.
have a streamlined system
Mm-hmm.
and a streamlined voting process, so that there wasn't a question how this state did
Yeah.
it and that state did it. Because since we're all voting on the same thing, we should have the same way of voting.
Yeah.
Now, if they want to vote on how to treat the ocean, fine. If we want to vote on state regulate how we want to deal with Ocoee River, that's our
Yeah.
business.
Yeah.
But when it becomes, or if we want to vote on how we want to educate or how we want to have our police or whatever, that's sort of our area. But when we're all voting on one common thing, it needs to be voted the same way.
Well, now I think now more than ever that's so important because look at the chaos that's going on in some of these states. I mean, my gosh, we've got states, and when this podcast actually airs, there still may be some states that haven't even been certified. That
By the Secretary of
by the
State,
Secretary-
if that state allows their Secretary of State to certify.
That's exactly
Yes.
right.
Yeah.
But
Does any states not have the Secretary of State?
I do not believe so.
I
I
think
believe
it's-
every state has a Secretary of State.
And
to
they're the ones
certify.
that certify.
yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
To my knowledge.
Yeah,
But I
to
mean,
my knowledge.
right now, look at some of the states, how chaotic it is, and look at how far Florida has come. I mean, think of the 2000 race with Al
Yeah.
Gore and how much chaos Florida caused.
Mm-hmm.
And then this go around, Florida had it ready to go, tip top shape. And I believe they said we're not going to be the story anymore.
Yeah, they got that whole they weren't going to do evidently like what happened to them before.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I was watching that this morning on YouTube. Is all of the things that happened in 2000 with
Yeah.
that, and for 30 days they were announcing that Gore was the president,
Yeah.
and then they'd flip it, and so this may be nothing new.
Yeah.
Maybe this is all, but whatever the process is, we evidently have a process, and whatever.
It's in the hands of the courts now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a shame when it has to be in the hands of the court.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be, in my opinion, it needs to be whatever happened, and not for somebody
Well,
to interpret what the law is.
It
Yeah.
could have been solved by one thing, and that's to require a voter ID at the ballot box and in-person voting. Now, I get the exceptions for your shut-ins and your military men and women serving overseas with the absentee ballot process. But this whole debacle with, we're going to send ballots to these people's houses that are voters, and like certain states are doing, then that just opens the door for states to do ballot harvesting. I don't know if you heard of that before, but
Is that where they have the drive-by drop box?
people can go and say, or basically collect their ballots and fill out whoever they want to. It's just a mess, and you could fix all that by in-person voting, and then requiring a valid ID, and then you would never call into question who had won the election if you required those things. And I think in the next time the United States House and Senate go into session, I think the main thing out of the gate needs to be in-person voting and requiring a valid ID for the votes, or for that person to be able to vote.
And absentee voting, I don't know how you deal with that, but I guess your ballot would have a number, and your number would have to, of course.
The difference between that and mail-in voting is they request the absentee ballot. So let's say like an elderly lady can't get out to the polls. She can request that, and it comes to her house. She's requested it, but it's not been sent there to her by the state. To where, who knows what? Like, let's say
Her son gets it, or her
and
daughter
fills it out.
gets it.
Yeah, she requested it. And that process has got to be rigorous too. I don't know the exact steps for it, but I mean, there needs to be some hoops to jump through for that.
We've always had absentee ballots.
Yes, there's nothing wrong. Nothing wrong with that.
It's the process of sending it to everyone.
Yes.
And then maybe, I guess you could sell your vote that way.
And it could be
Now
happening.
you'd have some value there, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I know. It's wild. So I mean, voter intimidation. It's crazy. I mean, it's just the in-person voting with a valid ID is the only way to fix this, in my opinion. The only way. And
or by absentee with request.
Yes, but it wouldn't. The absentee process would not even be. In most cases, enough to flip the election.
No,
but with what we've got
and
going
at
on,
least you'd know that was the person. What's your name? And we'll send it to that. And then if they had another one, they'd say, no, we can't take this one because this one's already been duplicated.
Yeah, exactly.
If we can't be certain of the outcome of our elections, and then where are we at as a country?
Well, if we can't be certain of the election, we might as well just have a show of hands.
That's exactly right.
Everybody for Biden, raise your hand.
I know.
I mean, what's the difference?
You're exactly right. So
the ayes have it.
Yeah.
But I think whoever becomes president will get behind him, and we'll be for him, whether we like it or not, whether it's Trump or whether it's Biden, because we're the United States.
That's right.
So, do y'all have any aspirations for running for office? I mean, I know you sound like you're very knowledgeable about how this stuff works.
Yeah, I'd be lying to you if I told you that I'd never thought about running for an office. But my thing is I rely on my friends and my family and my faith. I'm praying about it when the right time for me to do something like that would be. I'm relying on guys like the one sitting beside me here, Chase, and guys like Stephen Shelton to help me decide when the right time to do that would be. And that's the thing. It's all about timing, and you got to have a game plan. And if you're not in it to serve, then you don't need to get in as well too. And if I did, I'd want to do it to serve the community.
In talking with y'all just to last a little bit, I'm positive y'all have a game plan. You may not have it out yet, but you've got a plan.
Yeah, I'd be lying if I said that me and Hunter, didn't have phone conversations where we're like, hey, we want to really serve one day. We want to get into it to help people. And I'd be lying if I say that we didn't talk about that a lot, but that's our lives, and I want to get out in front to where I can actually make a difference in life.
You want to have a voice, I guess, as they say.
I want to have a voice, and I want to be the voice for people that elect me, if I ever run for office.
Now, Hunter, where do you live? What's your
Where?
Yeah, I mean, what age are you? 21, 22?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
So you can run for office at an age, and so why not run for an office that doesn't require 24 hours a day or something? I mean, you're already in office. You're the chairman of the Young Republicans. You're the vice chairman. You've been elected.
Yeah.
You've been elected actually.
Yeah.
So what's your next election?
That's a good question. I've thought about some different local jobs here that I think about running for, but my heart is here in Bradley County, and that's always been my heart, and I think it'll always be my heart. And I really care about helping my community and helping the people, you know, that are my neighbors and the people that I talk to every day. The people, just the good people of Bradley County, you know, and that's my heart is in this community. And if I did decide to run for something, it would definitely be something in Bradley County, you know, where I could really feel like I could help. And I wouldn't do it just to be elected. You know, I think we have some politicians now that want to jump in and run for something because they want to be a mayor or a commissioner or whatever they want to be. You know, I think that's we can't be like that. We've got to jump in when we feel like we can make a difference and serve the community. And if you can't serve and you're not in it to serve, then you don't need to get in.
Boy, if that wasn't practice, it sure was good.
I appreciate it. So.
Well, I really wish y'all luck, and I can tell you right now, y'all are absolutely going to be heard of later.
I appreciate it.
We appreciate that.
I appreciate y'all.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for having us on. I appreciate it. The #1 podcast in Bradley
That's right.
County.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.